Welcome to Dyno-Pod, the Dyno-Rod podcast, where each episode we meet people from within Dyno-Rod as the franchisor, our plumbers, drainage engineers. But on today's episode, I'm delighted to be joined by Mark Taylor. Welcome to the show, Mark.
Thank you, Lee, for having me on.
Excellent. So, Mark Taylor, people are probably thinking, who's Mark Taylor? So, we'll find out who Mark Taylor is. So, what's your background, Mark, and your career? Let's tell our listeners a little bit about Mark Taylor. So, who are you, your background, your career journey?
Yeah, sure, no problem at all. So, I'm CEO of a technology business called Automate Analytics, which is a supplier and a partner to Dyno-Rod. So, I started my career in the services industry. So, I worked in hotels as a marketing person, got to the dizzy heights of being marketing director of Hilton, and then I got into private equity. And really, the technology that we've developed first started coming into my mind when I worked for Nationwide Auto Centres, which you'd think is a different business from Dyno-Rod, but actually it's a multi-site garage business. We ended up selling the business to Halfords, so you'd know it's Halfords Auto Centres. But the challenge of actually understanding your calls and the calls that you're getting from your website and what actually those calls are turning into, which is the challenge that we solved for Dyno-Rod actually was an issue that we had back in Nationwide Auto Centre days. And I always remember this. I was sat in a garage in Derby of all places, and I could hear the person on the end of the phone. When he called up the center manager, so they wanted to book an MOT but couldn't because there was no availability on the website. Quite rightly, the center manager at the time said, "Yeah, no problem at all. I can fit you in tonight. How does 5 o'clock sound?" And I immediately thought I can't attribute that to my marketing online because we'd missed that opportunity. So I created Automate Analytics 10 years ago, and we developed our own AI probably about 5 years ago now. And Dyno-Rod really were the pioneers and a pioneering client for us because they adopted our AI to actually understand, the not only the volume of calls that the Dyno.com website was creating, but the value of those calls and
Yeah.
how we could actually implement a program so that we could increase revenue but decrease customer service calls. And at the end of the day, listening manually to calls is quite painful, but using the power of AI to actually understand that, Dyno-Rod had become a great customer. And what I love about Dyno-Rod is you guys, you're all about change and you love the fact that, you never stand still and you're looking to make change and improve your business, whether it's, the franchisees in London or the South or up in the North. And
Yeah.
it's great to be part of that process.
Yeah. So I guess in terms of automated analytics, you talked a little bit there about how you started to build automated analytics from your days in previous roles. But I guess what was the real driver behind you wanting to create your own business? Because it's not for everybody, right? Creating your own business comes with a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure, a lot of worries, some good times, some bad times.
Yes, yeah, very much so. It's funny. I often say to people that if they told you how difficult it was at school, I'm not sure we'd have that many entrepreneurs in the UK. But I think it was wanting to do something on my own. I was very lucky in that, I'd had three very, very successful private equity exits with companies that I've been involved in. But it was actually my CEO from my sport or health club days, a guy called John Cleland, who said to me, Mark, I've never seen anybody do what you do in terms of driving website performance, but you need to go and create your own business and do it. He was very much the catalyst for kind of giving me that suggestion, that idea. And it really was solving a problem. I was a marketeer, commercial director, and there wasn't any technology around at the time that could do what I wanted it to do to solve that attribution problem. And so, it was very much a case of I sold my car to finance the business to begin with, and I think for the first 2 years, it was very much hand to mouth. And then we started to get a reputation in the market, and we started to build the business out. But it really was that passion and wanting to be an entrepreneur. I love I read the Times every day, and the How I Made It section I find really motivational because it's a weekly story about how somebody has done really well and grown a business. And I think the great thing about franchising and the reason why I love franchising and working with franchisees and franchisors is, you know, if you're running your own business, you've got to create a brand. You've got to create a market, if you like, market visibility.
Yeah.
And the great thing about working in a franchise is there's lots of entrepreneurial people that you deal with. So, Dyno-Rod, you've got 40 plus franchisees, and it's like dealing with 40 different managing directors. And there's some great ideas and great opinions that come out of that. And that's why I love franchising so much, because you're dealing with entrepreneurs, people that want to set up their own business and want to drive forward. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's not easy. I think it's one of the hardest jobs in the world
Yeah.
to do, and you've got to have so much self-belief, because you've got to take those knockbacks at the end of the day and roll with them,
Yeah.
and really drive forward. And it's that belief. And I think as a business owner, we've now got over 5,000 clients worldwide. We launched our American business 18 months ago, where we've got over 3,500 clients. And it was a risk at the end of the day setting up that business, but I took the risk because essentially it was a £20,000 bet. That's what it would cost us to close the business down, and it's been very successful. So I think, you've got to be prepared to put in the hard yards, put in the work. There are times when I didn't really have a holiday for a couple of years because we went away, but I still had to put that effort in. And really, for me, I'm just incredibly proud that my business started really on our kitchen table in Doncaster, and now we're one of the global leaders in AI.
Yeah, indeed. And I'll come back to that in a second because you talked to America and global. But I guess that initial sort of vote of confidence from your previous sort of leader, how did what was going through your mind? What was the emotional feeling of that? Yeah, it's all right to say it, but actually going and doing it is completely different. And there must have been a lot of moments where there's lots of pluses, there's lots of what was that? There must have
It,
been a lot going around in your head at that
it
moment in
it's
time.
really funny you should say that, Lee. When I first started the business, half of it I was consulting for people, and half of it I was developing our own tech. And after about 2 years, I realized that whilst I was consulting for other businesses, helping them with the website sales, I I was developing someone else's business, not my own. And so I built up the consulting element. It was pretty much 80% of our turnover. And I knew that unless I stopped doing that and spent 5 days a week or 7 days a week on my own business, it was never going to grow. And so I felt that that was one of the fundamental shifts, was actually turning a lot of money away and right, I'm going to go for this and develop our own tech. And I would say that was a pivotal moment when I'd been trading for 2 years. But also, I think there was that degree of kind of thinking, I just want to be my own boss. I want to do my own thing. And for the first couple of years, I'd saved up enough money. I'd sold my car so that I could afford to, right, I've got 2 years to make this work. And I'd start to see the green shoots after about 6 months, but it still took some time to get to that profitability. And I just took the view, I'm all in. I'm going to do this. And I'm lucky in the fact that I have a business that I love. I love what I do. I'm very lucky in that. And often I say to people is forget about the money for a second, follow what you love, because if you love something, you'll create great customer service, you'll create a brilliant product, you'll create great customer delivery because you love it.
Yeah,
And I think that passion is what comes through. And I think certainly one of the things that I've learned is making sure that, one of the reasons why, we hire people is making sure that passion is in the people that we hire. And sometimes we've made the right choice, sometimes we've made the wrong choice. But I think for me, it's staying to the course and accepting that you are going to get some people that say no to you. But actually, it's that self-belief that you're going to make a difference.
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah. No, that's self-belief is it's takes a lot of courage. So I take my hat off to you. Obviously, I've spent
Thank
all
you.
my career in the corporate world, as did you for a period, but
Yeah.
having that conviction and that courage to go and go it alone, as they say, takes a lot of a lot of balls, I would say. Sorry,
Thank you.
listen.
I mean, I think the stats are, I think it's something like only, was it 2 or 6% of companies actually survive past 2 years, and
Yeah,
We've been going, I think it's 11 years this year. I think it might even be 12 actually. I've lost count now in a way. And I can understand why in the first 2 years it is so difficult, and it's getting yourself set up right, and it's taking a few risks, but also it's controlling your costs. There's a lot of companies that I see that are startups that spend an awful amount of money and don't even have any revenue coming in the door.
yeah,
Have to keep it very, very hand to mouth and not overstress yourself. And yeah, I have had sleepless nights. There are times when I thought, bloody hell, how am I going to do this?
yeah,
But you find a way because of that commitment and passion that you have.
yeah, yeah, indeed. Okay, look, and you talked America there, but where are you located? You talked Doncaster, kitchen table. Where's head office for automated
Well,
analytics?
we're in the People's Republic of Yorkshire, which, as you probably can tell from my accent, I'm not originally from here. So I grew up in Birmingham. I went to school South Bromsgrove, and then I kind of made my way down to London, and then I moved to Doncaster about 15 years ago, actually. And my last private equity job, I was commuting to Norwich, and Doncaster, Norwich. If anybody knows that, it's a good 3 hours on country roads. There's no direct route, and if you get stuck behind a tractor, it's 4 hours. And I
Yeah,
just got tired of it. And a lot of people said to me, how can you set up a tech business in Doncaster? Well, I have to say, Doncaster's been a great place to set up a business. You're an hour, 30 minutes on the train from London, so it's very well connected.
yeah,
And because you've got local cities like Sheffield and Leeds, a lot of people don't want to commute, and so therefore our, if you like, talent pool is actually quite rich in Doncaster. The other thing is that the Doncaster city really have put their arms around us and helped us. I'm very lucky in the fact that Damien Allen, who is the city CEO, Ross, who's the mayor, and also the chamber, Dan Fell, who's CEO there, have been super supportive of us as a business. And so yeah, from the dizzy heights of the kitchen table in Doncaster to America has been an interesting transition for us. We now have an American business, Automate Analytics America, that's based in Charlotte. But those early days of being literally on my kitchen table in Doncaster, I remember them very well. I also remember my then partner thinking that I wasn't working. Could I do the shopping or could I do the washing? And I'm like, no, 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 I'm about to get on the call. So I did actually, I think within the first 6 months, get some serviced offices so I could just kind of almost shut the door. But I'm very proud of our Doncaster roots because it's not every day you get a tech company, coming from Doncaster, but hopefully we've proven that it doesn't really matter where you're located. You can still get the same opportunities,
yeah.
as others. And it's I am delighted that you made it to our offices, Lee, in Doncaster because we're just around the corner from the Keep Moat Stadium. But it's a great place to do business, and it's never ever held us back.
Yeah, indeed. No, and that's really good. You've stayed to your roots in Doncaster. And how many in the team now?
So
Both.
there's 25 of us globally. So we have an Asian coding lab. We've got the UK kind of heartbeat of the business, which will never change. And then we've got 6 or 7 colleagues in the States. So we are very much UK US
Yeah,
focused.
yeah. And your time split between a lot of air miles, I'm assuming, over the last couple of years.
The odd air mile, but I'm lucky in terms of I can keep to UK time, so I don't really get jet lag. And I've got a great team in the US, and I've got a great team in the UK who look after our clients. Yeah, my role, it's interesting because I think I was very, very operational a couple of years ago, and because I built a bit more of a kind of structure below me, it enables me to operate probably as a CEO, whereas before you probably see me as more like an operations director, bit, very much involved in the business. But no, we're very lucky with our American business. We have a great chief operating officer out there who takes care of it, and so therefore it's 1 week in the US, 3 weeks here because of our client base, and I still really enjoy talking to clients. When I first set up the business, our first 10 clients, I knew their names, I knew, their kids, I knew everything about them.
Yeah,
That's changed, unfortunately. I don't know everybody in that great detail, but I still really enjoy those client meetings. It's when I have the reviews with Alistair at Dyno-Rod. I love getting into the detail and really understanding things from a client point of view because that's what I'm passionate about is helping businesses improve, whether it's productivity, cost saving, or just driving more sales.
yeah, indeed. Yeah. So I guess those are the things that get you up in the morning, and that's what you love about your job: the people, the growth, the opportunities, and just continue to grow and innovate your business.
Yeah, it's very much about people. I mean, my colleagues, the people that work for us, are my greatest asset. Even though we are a software business, we're still a people business. And like you're a service business, Dyno-Rod is a service business, and you're a people business. It's very much about the people, and that's what I very much enjoy the most. Also seeing people develop. We've got an apprentice scheme. Funny enough, my nephew was the first apprentice. He came in for his work experience with us, and I promised his dad that he would be going back to do his A levels, but he never did. And I'm delighted that he's now got a senior marketing position at Jet2. He's done brilliantly, and I'm really proud of him. And I'm proud of all of our apprentices that have come in because I was lucky at Hilton Hotels. I had someone invest in me, which was Hilton Hotels. I spent a lot of time on management training. I even went to Lausanne Business School, which I really enjoyed the experience. And I try and give back. We are a small business. We can't afford, unfortunately, to send people to Lausanne Business School yet.
Yeah,
But in terms of developing those people and giving them opportunity, that's what I'm very proud of. That even though we're a small business, we do provide those opportunities. I think it's key nowadays because I think gone are the days where everybody goes to university and gets a degree. I think there's a lot of on-the-job training. That there's some great
yeah,
other opportunities than just in terms of apprenticeships and other opportunities than just going to university. So I think
yeah,
there's a lot more option for people at the end of the day, and I'm glad to play a part in that role in terms of their development. So, for example, everybody in the company gets a paid day's training every month, and they can choose what they go on. We put a lot of emphasis on supporting our colleagues and giving them some really, really good benefits from free gym membership right the way through to healthcare because it is, we even though we're a software business, we are very much a people business. And
yeah,
and that's the bit I really enjoy the most. And you're right, it does get me up in the morning. I don't have a problem getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then I think by 6:15, I'm on my bike doing 15K around France. Although let's be honest with you, Lee, it's a turbo trainer in my garage. Let's not get too
yeah,
excited.
yeah, indeed.
But it's very easy to get up in the morning when you enjoy something that you do.
Yeah, indeed. No, no, that's good. And I think the apprenticeship piece is an interesting one because I think generally up until a few years back, people associated apprenticeships with a trade, as in a carpenter or a gas engineer or etc. Whereas now there's such a range of apprenticeships from customer service to IT to marketing to this. There's something there for everybody. I think you sort of understanding, right, what are the apprenticeships that will give somebody a platform? They might not be with me in 10 years, but if I've given them a platform and an opportunity to develop themselves and they've gone on to bigger and better things, then that's good for you as a business. And they'll remember that as well for the rest of their career when somebody's asking them a question. How did it all start? Well, it started with,
Yeah,
and people won't forget that, like you didn't forget that moment with your ex colleague and said, now's the time for you to go
def
on and
definitely. Even now with Hilton, so I left Hilton, crikey, would have been about 18 years ago. I'm still a Hilton as member. I still try and book a Hilton hotel wherever I stay in the world because
yeah.
I'm very much signed up to the brand because they did such a good job, for me when I was there for 3.5 years. And I think on the apprentice side of things, you're right. An apprentice degree, I think is a great way, for young people to get a degree because the cost of going to university now is astronomical. The people coming out with a debt of £100,000, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And I think as us as employers, we've got a role to play in promoting young talent. And I also think, the days where people stayed in the same job for life. My father worked for three companies, his entire career, over the 45, 50 years that he worked. It doesn't happen anymore. And, my view is particularly, in a fast-paced industry that we're in, which is technology, people aren't going to be with you for life at the end of the day, although we do have some, I mean, our first employee still works for us, actually, a guy called Anas Dadewali, who's an ex-Googler. He still works for us 8 years on.
Wow.
But you're not going to get, lifers in the business at the end of the day. And I think contributing to their ongoing development, they'll always think kindly of you. And, my nephew still texts me. So I must have done something right
Yeah,
with
exactly. Yeah,
Jet2. And
exactly.
fortunately, he gives me the discount codes as well for Jet2. So I must have done something right for him to still think highly as his uncle.
Excellent, excellent. And I guess just a little bit outside of work. I know you talked there about getting on your turbo bike in the morning, but what else is Mark passionate about? Drop the day job for a minute. What's Mark's passion outside of work?
So I think when you're an entrepreneur and when you're running your own business, it's super important to have downtime. And I probably struggled with this for the first 4 or 5 years of the business, is actually being able to switch off. We used to measure our profitability every 4 minutes, and it was addictive. Being sat on the beach with the kids, refreshing your report in terms of profitability. So I wasn't very good at that, and I think one of the key learnings I took was that I needed something to take me away from work, and literally so I don't think about it. So yes, the keeping fit, but actually I race go-karts. So sounds a bit childish, but they're the ones that do 90 miles an hour. And I literally won the same championship that Lewis Hamilton won when he was 49. I won it last year and I'm 49. So I don't think it's kind of like the same. But the great thing about go-kart racing is all I do is think about how do I go quicker. And because we're a data company, you've got a data logger, you can see data, you can see the speed you're doing into corners, the time, all that kind of stuff. So actually, one, it's very energetic, so I have to be fit for it. So I ended up losing 3 stone actually through having a hobby, if that makes sense. But it's one of the only times I actually switch off, and it really has helped me recharge because I think if you're on all the time, you just run yourself ragged and you really you're not energized enough. And I feel once I've done a weekend of karting, I feel so much better for it because I've switched off. I've not looked at my
Yeah,
phone. I've not checked emails. I've really switched off. And I think as an entrepreneur running your own business, you need that. It's very difficult to, very easy for me to say. It took me 5 years to
yeah.
learn it, and understand that I need to switch off. So that's my, motorsport is my big passion. My second biggest passion, which I know Lee, you'll be delighted to hear, is that I am a third generation Aston Villa fan. My kids are fourth generation, and my granddaughter is actually she'll be fifth generation. And so every colleague in the US, as part of their starter pack with us, gets an Aston Villa shirt because I'm on one-man mission to improve the supporter base and increase the quantity of Villa supporters in the USA. I must admit, we're doing rather well at the moment. We're batting above our average. We're doing quite well in Champions League, and
Yes.
we are having an okay season in the Premier League. But that's,
Yes.
I guess, my second passion is Aston Villa, which I know, I know, but we've all got across the bear at the end of the day. So, and mine's Aston Villa.
Very good. But do you know what though? There's quite a few Aston Villa fans in the Dyno-Rod network, believe it or not.
Yes, we've all seemed to have come out the cupboard
Yeah,
since we're doing
yeah,
quite well,
indeed.
but we
Yeah.
we we are we are a huge club, but we've not had that much success recently. But we've got
You're the
Liverpool.
second Villa fan that I've had on the podcast.
Wow, God, see, there you go.
Barry Benson, who runs our franchise in Ireland, Crowley Environmental Services.
Yes,
He's a
yeah,
massive Aston Villa fan. That's
good
his
for him.
passion in life. So
See,
yeah,
we're out there, Lee. We're out there.
it's a growing supporter base. The
Yep.
Villa, up the Villa.
And we're doing all we can in the US. So we signed an agreement with an agency in the US who are using our tech, and he was texting me over the weekend, and he says, I'm now a confirmed Aston Villa supporter, even though he saw us draw 1-1 with Ipswich, 10-man Ipswich, and we drew 1-1. But yeah, Jerry was very keen. I think the Prince William connection might do it for the Americans, I think. So
Quite possibly,
yeah,
yeah. They do like the Royals in
yes,
America. Fair play. Yeah, and I think your point there, just reflecting back on your downtime piece, I think there's a real key message there for anybody listening, right? Is we've all got busy lives in our own little way, but you do need to have your downtime, whether it's going for a walk, going for a cycle, doing what
Yep.
you do, go-karting, going to the gym, just going to spend some time with family and friends. You've got to give yourself that time because your body will tell you eventually. And
Yes, and
don't
and,
wait
and
for your
I,
body to
I,
tell you.
I did not get it right for the first 5 years, and I think now we have. It sounds crazy, structured family time. So Saturday nights is our time for everybody to get together, and it's if you don't have that structured time, I find that you'd miss opportunity. Holidays particularly, you know.
Yeah.
I learned something from Richard Branson. So I worked for Virgin for a time, and he said that when he was on holiday, he would literally spend 20 minutes in the morning and then for the rest of the time he was off. But that 20 minutes was so valuable to know, right, everything was running as it should. Is there anything important I need to look at? And it was one of the things I learned from him that I still do today is I just, whenever I'm on a holiday, wherever I'm in the world, it's that 20 minutes just checking in, making sure everything's okay. And then I actually have, if you like, the relief of, right, everything's fine, I can get on with my holiday. Whereas if you're not checking in, I think, you do wonder what's going on, or you get dragged in stuff that you shouldn't do. And I think as a business owner, it is allowing yourself to not necessarily step away, but have a bit of downtime because, yeah, you can feel a bit guilty about it. And I understand that. And that's why that 20 minutes start of the holiday, when I'm there makes a big difference. And let's be honest with you, if you work with Richard Branson, he's an awfully successful guy, then, it's something we can all learn from, I think.
Yeah, indeed. That's been a great overview of you. Now we're going to talk a little bit about life on the job, shall we say? So obviously, Mark is a key partner of Dyno-Rod, and the service they provide. So I guess, how did it all start? How did you become a partner with Dyno-Rod, and what exactly do automated analytics do for Dyno-Rod?
Yeah, sure. So we were working in the drainage industry, I would say, with our platform. So the business originally was what I would call a lead generation platform. So we were generating leads from Google. We'd started a conversation with, funny enough, a guy called Alistair Donson, who you might well know quite well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
when we first started talking to Alistair about some of the work we were doing with some people in the industry, I think it was that visibility of, right, we know we're getting X amount of online bookings, but all these phone calls we're generating, what actually are they? And so we did a really a proof of concept for you guys. I think it was about 4 years ago now, where we were able to show, right, of the 500 calls that you get a day from Dyno.com, 30% or 50% at the time were customer service, 50% were sales. Okay, by franchisee, what's the sales? What's the sales conversion? What's the sales revenue? So what we're able to do is show, really the Dyno operation, the value of Dyno.com. And I think it's very easy when you're not plugging the data gap. And what I mean by the data gap is it's very easy to measure an online booking. It gets generated, you then compare it to your CRM system, and you can see the journey. But if only 20, 30% of your bookings are online bookings, majority are coming through the phone line, maybe. How do you track that? And how do you track it in a real-time way that takes care of seasonality or changes in your business? And so really for us, and it's been a great journey to be on with Dyno, because with Dyno, it's kind of started very, very small in a test where we actually started in Scotland, and we literally split the company east and west. And what was the difference in behavior between the two? And what we were able to find out very, very quickly was that one half of Scotland had a very, very good sales conversion. The other half had some areas to improve, but these were the areas where they could improve. And because we're using AI to analyze your business, it means that you can just work that much deeper, smarter, and quicker. So rather than having to listen to 1,000 calls a day to work out what's happened, we can listen to 10,000 calls in 0.2 of a second with a 91% accuracy. So it means that the data that we're generating and the insight we're generating is so much deeper. And because it's by franchise, by location, we can even see, well, actually, that franchise is operating in 10 locations. This one location is they're getting sales calls, but they're not converting. Why is that?
Yeah.
And often it's the availability of engineer, or where an engineer lives, that can define the ability to actually service that job. So we started really with a trial of our platform, and then the relationship has grown where, and I'm pleased you called us a value partner, because we definitely feel that, because we very much work with you almost on a daily basis now, spotting trends and
Yeah.
areas that we can improve on in your customer journey. And Alistair's been fundamental to that. I mean, we've reduced your customer service calls by 50%. I'd love it. It all came from us. We showed you the data, and the great thing about you guys is you do something with it and
Yeah.
actually make improvements to your business. And that's, when I said earlier on in the podcast, is that's great. When you present someone with some data and say, look, we can see this. What does it mean? How do we improve this? And for you to actually go and make a difference and see those customer service calls drop. I mean, a 50% drop in customer service calls is a massive,
Yeah.
massive stat change and a behavioral change. And also, I think it's also the franchisees understanding the value of Dyno.com, understanding actually how much comes through that site, the improvements that you've got from whether it's Google My Business, which I think is called Google Places now, natural search versus paid search versus which keywords actually drive the higher invoice values versus the lower ones.
Yeah.
So we're very much embedded in it. And I think it's not only the insight we give you from a national Dyno-Rod point of view, it's also, the franchisees are able to dial in the platform and literally see their performance on an hourly basis, and how can we improve that to make more out of what we've already got. And
Yeah.
that's the exciting thing I find about Dyno-Rod is just your appetite for change and growing the business and wanting, to make that customer delivery better.
Yeah, and I think the key to all that is data, right? We're a data-driven society now, right? The world is driven by data, and data's key. And you can make informed decisions. Sometimes you make the wrong ones. Don't get me wrong, but at least if you've got data, whereas in the past you'd make decisions on emotion,
Yes.
um, and then well, it's not quite how we thought it was going to play out, because it didn't play out like that because we didn't have the facts and we didn't have the data. Whereas
Yes.
you could physically measure it. That's where we are today. We do A, B, and C, and the reduction in that example you give is clear for everybody to see. So I guess just building on data, and you mentioned this a little earlier about I think you mentioned that you started AI 5 years ago, I think it
Yep.
was, in your business. I guess, how do you see, because it's obviously a big part of your business and it's a big
Yep.
part of the world we're living in now. How do you see AI evolving in business, specifically the services sector and generally everyday life? Just an open conversation, because I know it's close to your heart. You do a lot in this space,
Yes.
so
Well, it's interesting because we've got large corporations, American corporations like Pizza Hut, KFC, and those types of brands coming to us, a UK business, for advice on how to implement AI. So you'd believe that America was at the forefront. Well, President Trump is talking about a 500 billion pound investment into infrastructure, which is great. But if you haven't got any AI solutions to put on it, it's going to become a bit of a dead donkey, as it were. So for us, in terms of AI is a prediction tool at the end of the day. It's predicting either future behavior or future stats or future data. So unless you program something to take over the world, it's not going to do it. You're not going to get a Tesla that's going to wake up in the morning and suddenly decide it's going to take over the world unless it's been programmed to do that. And even then, you've got, every AI solution has what they call a model, and you've got to train that model. So Getty Images have created an AI image creator. They've had to feed it with billions of images. So the AI recognizes, oh, a blue skyline looks like this, a red skyline looks like this. So unless it's seen it before, it struggles to do it. Hence, with ChatGPT, at the end of the day, that consumes a lot of what's on the internet. But if it hasn't seen it before, it can't create it. So
yeah,
I think that the fears of AI, in terms of it taking over the world and robots certainly kind of replacing humans, I don't think is accurate. Certainly not at the moment, anyway. I think where AI is going to go is increasing the productivity of of colleagues at the end of the day. And what I mean by that is really AI should be used to remove those mundane tasks that your teams and colleagues do. So, I use ChatGPT if I've got a letter that I need to write, or if I've got something I need to create, I'll go to ChatGPT. I'll ask it. It'll give me the start of probably the letter I want to write, but I'm still
Yeah,
going to edit it and use it. And so I think there's a number of tools out there that do that will help you and be more efficient. So Waze is a good example. It's a brilliant navigation app. If you don't use it at the moment, you should do. It's way better than Google Maps. That is using AI to plot your journey in terms of current traffic conditions, as it were. And I find it just to be more accurate, it's got a great AI element to it. So for me, I see AI as that role of just making your life more productive because you're getting rid of those mundane tasks. It's like with Netflix. They use AI to predict what movie, to present to you. So rather than searching through loads and loads of movie titles, it comes up with the 10 that it thinks that you want to watch. Good
yeah,
use of good use of my time. So really where I see AI moving is in that area. And certainly for businesses, it's it's slashing costs. It's making colleagues more productive, and therefore those two together should increase profitability. I think the challenge for businesses is if you're not adopting AI, you're going to get left behind. So I don't believe it's going to replace anybody.
yeah,
Certainly in the 5,000 implementations we've done, there's not been a single reported redundancy. In fact, people have employed more people because they're more efficient and therefore they're more profitable and therefore they can see they need to employ more people. But the companies that don't adopt AI, I think, will get left behind by those that do. And I see it as a competitive advantage that if
yeah,
you're using AI to make your staff more productive and cut costs, it's a competitive advantage. And therefore, you'll be better than your nearest competitor that's not using it. And I
yeah,
think the trick is getting your colleagues to when I say use AI, to learn how they can use AI so it makes a difference
yeah,
because sometimes we get approached by organizations, right? We need AI, we just don't know where to implement it. Sometimes AI isn't the answer, and that actually what you're looking for is automation rather than AI. And there was a company that we were approached by the other day, a FTSE 250 company actually, who they were very much looking for, what's our AI policy. And I think when it comes to regulation, the UK is slightly behind Europe and US in terms of coming up with that regulation, but I think Europe's gone too far. I think America, the regulation could be a little bit tighter because I think the things in terms of
yeah,
um, what I would call in terms of ethics and bias. So ethically, should you be using an AI to solve that problem? And what is the bias that's in that that's going to cause a biased answer?
yeah,
What I mean by that is there is an app in Nigeria at the moment that you can use to determine whether you've got malaria. It's got less than a 50% chance of predicting malaria. So you might as well flip a coin.
yeah, yeah,
If we were using it today, there's a high chance that you or I might have malaria when we don't. So ethically, should you be doing that? No, you probably shouldn't be. So I think for me, it's regulation will come in. I think it's companies having an AI policy to decide, right, well, do we treat it as data? Do we set it up in the same way as having a data, data council having an AI council, and just making sure that if we are using AI, ethically it's the right thing to do and we understand the bias of the model. But I think it could be a great tool for us. And certainly, if you look at Donald Trump, he's gone out there in a big way to make sure that America is seen at the forefront. But then, the AI industry in the UK is huge. Like I say, we've got a lot of American corporations coming to us for help and advice because it's not available in the US. And so I feel that from a UK standpoint, we should be the market leader because we've got a really, really strong AI industry. And I think it's one we should be proud of. Government just needs to get behind us.
yeah, indeed. No, and I think it is one of those embrace it now, but embracing means understanding it, what it can and can't do, what it could and couldn't do for your business, and then almost proceed with caution because you've got to teach it to walk, I guess, is probably
Yes.
the simple way of looking
Yeah,
at it.
Totally, Lee. I mean, I would suggest anybody needs, whatever you do, use a supervised model. Supervised model, which is what we use at the moment, is we check what the AI says or does or predicts.
Yeah,
And if you don't do that, you just let it run wild, then you're going to run into a problem, that's for sure, because it'll see something it's never classified before, never seen before, and therefore you need to correct it. So I think, something that's totally self-generative, we're not there yet. I even believe these data centers that are looking at creating, both in the US and the UK, were a little bit ahead of time. I mean, technically speaking, they need a mini nuclear reactor to power them. You're talking 50 megawatts, and if you place one in Doncaster, there you need all the water consumed in Doncaster on a daily basis to cool it on a daily basis. So you've got to think about the environmental impact.
yeah,
And for us, we can analyze 10,000 calls in zero point 0.2 of a second using an AI data center. We could probably get it down to 0.115, but it'll be 10 times the cost. Is 10 times the cost really worth putting our solution in our data center? Not at the moment, no, because the cost. And I think that's the only thing about AI is we're going charging off. I think it's making it as relevant as we can to businesses, and as you say, treading carefully and just making sure it's having a positive impact rather than negative impact.
yeah, indeed. No, that's good, and I think there's we could probably sit here and talk about AI for hours on end, but I think that's been a very good overview of how you've used it in your business, how you see the landscape evolving, and some useful tips on if you are considering using it. One, reach out to Mark at Automated Analytics, but proceed with caution and understand what you want to use it for, and is
Yeah.
it automation or AI? Because they are very different. Um, okay, thanks for that, Mark. I guess I'm going to bring it a little bit close to home now in terms of Dyno-Rod and automated analytics partnership. Um, how does working with a franchise organization differ from your normal sort of um, partners that you have and clients that you have?
So it's interesting you should say that. It's very much the people. So in one of our other clients, it's a large car hire business. We have two people that we report into at the end of the day. Within Dyno, and this is what I like about it, is you've got the franchisees. So you're dealing with 40 plus MDs, plus yourself, Lee, plus others. And I would say the advantage to that is just the plethora of ideas and different perspective that comes out from that, which is why
Yeah,
we love working with franchisees because they're very close to the business, and so they really understand what's affecting them on a day to day. Whereas if you're dealing with a multi-site operator that's run from head office essentially, which isn't franchise, sometimes you can um miss that kind of understanding of what's going on a day-to-day basis. So you can get much more deeper and get to the answer probably quicker. But you're also dealing with family run potentially businesses that are under the Dyno framework, or new franchisees, or franchisees that have been around for some time. And so therefore the perspective that you get, there's a lot of knowledge and history within the network, particularly with Dyno. And so therefore it's great to get those perspectives. And that's what I like about it, because often everybody in Dyno wants to grow the business, and that passion, that desire, that's why working in franchising is so much different, because again, yes, you've got the complexities of dealing with 40 plus MDs, but then it kind of balances itself with that insight, knowledge, and what works for them and what doesn't work for them.
yeah. No, that's a good summary of franchising. 40 MDs and all got slightly different views of the world because they all do slightly things slightly differently, but want the same outcome ultimately.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
so
very much so.
yeah, okay, and I guess on the flip side of that, obviously, I think we're now in our starting our fourth year as a partner,
Yeah.
Dyno-Rod and Automated Analytics. What's the one when you look back over the last 4 years, what's the lesson I've learned through that? Is there something you think, yeah, we could have done that differently, or wish we'd done this, or there might be nothing. There might be a perfect partnership, but I'm sure there's
No, I if I had the money, if I had the money, I would have staffed I almost put one person per franchise. And I don't, as you know, we have 25 people that work for us. We don't have 40 plus,
Yeah.
but it's helping the franchisees understand the data quicker. And I think we're getting better at it. But in operations, there are easier jobs, Lee, to do than operations at the end of the day, right? And so it's cutting through the noise and giving them the one or two silver bullets that are going to make a big difference to their agents, sorry, to their operation. And I think sometimes we blind people with data, whereas actually, what's the one or two things, what's the one or two nuggets I need to take away that's going to
Yeah.
dramatically improve my business? And it's not just turning around to someone and saying, well, you need to improve your sales conversion, or you need to stop missed calls, or you need to do this, or you need to do that. It's that level of data and giving them the one or two things, right? If you just did this, this, and this, you'll double your sales. And that, takes time and understanding. And so looking back on things, if I could have 40 people and have a spotter, if you like, per franchise, then I think we could have got to where we wanted to get to quicker. But that's just the magic one, Lee, at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
no, and
The way of
it's a
magic
good
one, I'd have
reflection,
more
actually.
resource and more people.
Yeah.
I think also it's getting out and seeing the franchisees, because even though you've got, you're a service-based business, even the way some of the franchisees operate, can be very, very different in terms of the product set, what they're like, what the skill set is locally, and just almost capturing that and staying up to speed with those variances, because you're a service-based people business, and what someone can do, and what their capabilities, tankers is a really good example, in terms of the investment you guys have made and being able to
Yeah.
flex our online strategy to support that business growth. But we've really enjoyed the journey. You've been a massive part of my business, and you've helped us grow up at the end of the day, Lee. So,
Yeah.
partly I've got to say thank you, but also we've really enjoyed the journey so far, and we're looking forward to the journey continuing, because
Yeah, indeed.
every day we're finding stuff that we need to improve on and add value to, and that's the joy of working with someone like yourselves. There's always something to do.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's that continuous improvement. I think you said it a little earlier. If you stand still, you get caught up, you get overtaken, and it's very hard to then catch people back up. And there's
Yeah,
there's lots of brands who have rested on their laurels. We can go back over decades and they're no longer with us, whether it's on the high street or an online presence or tech presence, because they thought, well, we've cracked it. You've
yeah.
never cracked it. You've got to keep cracking, as I
Yeah,
would
no,
say.
no, and when I even in the 4 years we worked with you, if I look at the development that you guys have done yourselves in terms of, because one of the things you always do, you're always questioning, right, can we do that better? Is there a way to do that differently that's more profitable, more efficient? You're always questioning things, and I think that's quite key to your success as a business, is you're always questioning things. Whereas there's other businesses that I've worked at in the past, as you say, rest on their laurels and don't have that same questioning spirit that you guys do.
Yeah, indeed. Um, I think that no, I was gonna bring it to a close, but I was just gonna reflect on the point there about if I'd had one person for every franchise and asked more about the knowledge, the understanding of the data. Moving forward, don't need to answer it now, but is that something AI could do moving forward?
You've still, you've still, so if I'm an operator, I've got loads of things that are grabbing my attention every day. How do I cut through that noise and get that one bit of information that's going to make a difference to me? And it's funny you should say that. Could AI do that? No, I don't think it can, because at the end of the day, it's artificial intelligence. There's nothing like the common sense, of a human being, which is why I don't believe artificial intelligence will ever,
Yeah,
take us over. And it's funny, Jimmy Carr has this expression: is the Beatles are not worried about the bootleg Beatles. Yeah, they're an imitation at the end of the day, and so is AI. And I just think it's going back to Aston Villa now. When I look at what Unai Emery has done to Aston Villa, he has got more coaches in his coaching staff's massive. It's almost like they haven't got a coach per player, but it's not far off that. They do a lot of data analytics. They do a lot of of understanding of how they need to play against different oppositions.
Yeah.
And for me, within the the Dyno Rod network, it's being able to, right, this is what happened yesterday, this is what we need to do today on a one-to-one level.
Yeah.
And a lot of that comes with common sense and understanding that local franchisee. And I guess that for me, and we've had, we've worked with some great franchisees on a one-to-one level. I just wish we worked with more of them more regularly than we currently do. I've got a franchise visit tomorrow, for example. And
Yeah.
and you probably argue as CEO I shouldn't, but I do because I love going to see clients because you pick up so much. We a lot of our development has come from your franchisees have given us good feedback and yeah, how we
Yeah.
can improve the platform. And I'm going up to Durham tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to it because it's when you get honest feedback and that's what we thrive on as a business.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No.
it is that I wish AI could do everything, but it won't. And I think it's
You
that
know.
common sense at the end of the day, Lee. And Lee, let's be honest with you, how can we replace you? It's not possible with AI.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm sure others will have a different view on that, but yeah, indeed. Look, no, look, that's been really good. And just to our listeners, look, there are more teams out there than Aston Villa, but apologies to Aston Villa fans, but hopefully I'll have somebody on next time who talks about a different football team because this is the second person. They must think Dyno-Rod is riddled with Aston Villa fans, but you are on a journey. You are doing very well. So as long as you don't do particularly well this evening, I will be a happy person.
Yes, we have got Liverpool. We have got Liverpool.
Yes,
It'll be an
indeed.
interesting match, Lee. Interesting
Yes, indeed.
match.
Very good. Thanks, Mark, for being our guest today.
Thank you, Lee, for inviting me.
And to you at home, thanks for joining me on Dyno-Pod and see you soon for more.